liberty. Hello, my CNC brothers and sisters. Happy CNC Wednesday to all. And we've got another special guest coming on board to talk about CNC business. You've probably seen him around Facebook. He's been active in it for a very long time in many different groups. Bill Keays up in Canada has been doing CNC business both professionally and his own personal business for a very long time. And Bill and I have known each other for about 4 years now. We used to do some business webinars, but we'll get back to that one. First of all, we got to cover the house rules and the house rules, and bring the bosses on board, let you know who's in the background for those of you who have not come on board. And so for those who have not been here before, I am Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, obviously the company that you get your CNC router bits from. And every Wednesday we do a live show for generally about 2 hours here on the IDC Woodcraft channel and a couple other channels, depending on who we've got on board. And so we're always talking CNC, bringing on special guests. So yeah, it's a lot of fun being here to help you out. And sometimes it's just little old me and we just talk CNC. Okay, let's talk about the house rules. First of all, we are all a bunch of helpful creators, so we don't talk bad around here. So we have a zero tolerance policy for bad behavior. And we have had a couple of sour apples and we do bump them. So let's keep it clean. I know 99.99999% of us creators are like that good, right? The good creators. So ain't going to happen. Another rule is so for those of you who don't know, in the background, I will bring them up here in just a little bit, is Liberty and Julianne. And whenever I ask them to do something, we have to take a drink. You can thank our friends Mark Lindsay for coming up with that rule. So keep a strong one on board. Let's see what else we got. I'm going to say a couple hellos. We got Vince from Ottawa. And Brandon, what's going on? Ellen, how you doing, Ellen? And we have Jeremy. Good to see you, Jeremy. And Benny. Mississippi, are you from Mississippi? Okay, Dove from Hamilton, Ohio. And we got Ken from Portage, Michigan. Paul, what's going on, Paul? Love the muscle chuck, he says. Yeah, so by the way, folks, we are closing out the muscle chuck on board. And so if you want to get this, it's a quick change router bit holder. Basically, it replaces your collet, and you loosen one screw, pull your bit out, and tighten the screw. After you put the other bit in, it's super, super fast. But we are closing out on that. So first time to drink, ladies, put a link in there so people can see the muscle chuck. So tonight we're going to be talking business, but for the rest of you, I'm just going to say hello because we have a lot of people on board. I want to say welcome to a CNC Wednesday. This is our regular CNC Wednesday hangout. Tonight we are going to talk about CNC business. So we will get to our special guest in just a moment. First, I want to bring out the two ladies that you all know, our regulars. We got Liberty with the very, very cool headset on, and Julianne. So Liberty, the one next to me. Oh, I pointed the right way. Yep.
I didn't.
She does all the shipping for IDC Woodcraft. She is our shipping manager. And down below is Julianne, and she is the administrator. She keeps all the wires connected. Let's put it that way, and keeps me straight. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I keep her pretty crooked, but
Crooked, sideways, like just scattered.
Right. So they will be in the background and they will be dialoguing with you and watching the comments. So if you have a question, make sure you put a question mark, a couple question marks, or the word question in front of your question, and that's how you can cue them. So ladies, thank you for doing what you do. And I'm going to set you in the background, and if we have to, we'll come out, we'll bring them back out. Now, there's one other rule that we have here. If you are new to CNC and you just got your machine, or you're the first time here, make sure you put it in the comments because we do want to celebrate you being here. What we do is we all come back out and we do a happy dance. All right, just a little happy dance, celebrate you being on board with us, and especially the brand new creators, people who just get in their machines. Let us know. Let us know. All right, so we're going to talk CNC business tonight, and I am bringing Bill Keays. As I said, I've known Bill for about 4 years now, and we used to do some business webinars, and there's actually lots of good information that you're going to dig up tonight. So I'm going to bring Bill out. Bill is from Canada. Hello, Bill. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us again, and it's good to see you again.
You too.
And thanks for joining us to take some time out of your schedule in the evening to help some people out with their CNC business questions. Yep. So let's try to keep our questions centered around business tonight. If we do get some other questions in there, we'll handle them, but we're going to focus primarily on business. So, Bill, for those people who don't know you or it's the first time they've seen you, why don't you give a little bit of background of what you do, how long you've been in business, what you've done on both ends, the professional end and fire away, brother.
Sure. So some of you might recognize my name, and that would be from the CNC Entrepreneurs Group. So I am one of the administrators in the group, in the Facebook group, along with Garrett. And that's when Garrett and I met. I believe it was around 4 years ago. So I'm heavily into Facebook, meaning that I have several groups. Another group, because I am Canadian, I do have the Canadian CNC users group, I believe. I've got another Shipoko group because I have a Shipoko at home. An admin on CNC for the beginners. I think there might be a couple more. That's the Facebook side. And you've been doing that for about 4, 5, 6 years. Besides that, I am the owner of cncbits.ca. So that is, again, another online store where we sell CNC bits to target market is mainly Canadians to try to help Canadians find some affordable tooling in Canada. And other than that, so I've been in the sign industry for over 20 years now. I've lost count, but I think I got in it around 2001, roughly, and I was actually around it for longer than that. When I was in high school, my parents started a sign shop in their basement. So along with that came my first CNC, which was in 2010, and I still have that same CNC today. But along that journey, I did become 100% self-employed. I was a contracted graphic installer, so I'd travel around, put on stickers for people. And in the wintertime, it kind of slowed down. And one winter, I decided I've always wanted a CNC at home. And in 2018, November 2018, I bought a Shipoko. And that little thing, once I started getting back into CNC, not for business, but for personal, and then it extended into more of a business. That really, helped me subsidize my income in those low periods. So in the busiest point, I believe that little Shipoko 3 XXL, I did about $35,000 in sales, I think my busiest year. So fast forward to today, I'm an owner of a sign shop. So I'm a co-owner in a sign shop here in the East Coast, Canada. And it's myself. I have 3 employees, and we do large format printing, vehicle wraps, signage. And one of the things that we do is I do have that CNC table at the shop. So it's a 5x10 axes with 5 horsepower spindle, full vacuum pull down. It has an oscillating knife as well as an optical registration system. So it's made for building signs. So I try to use that machine as much as I can at the shop to be as creative as I can to try to just make, unique, different things, different items for customers that they wouldn't be able to find at a regular sign shop. So I try to use that background for the CNC to promote it as much as I can, because it's not a huge thing in our area. But that's the last 20 years in a nutshell.
All right. Yeah. So there you go. 20 years. You've been at it for a long time, brother. Long time.
CNC for 14 though.
14 years. Okay. All right. And so I suppose the best way to start off with all this, since this is to help out people who are either interested in starting a CNC business, so generally home shop type of thing, or struggling, or working an active business, but it's not working out so well. Right. So this is who we are going to work on helping out and giving the best advice possible to give some the guidance. And of course, much of the advice will come through the questions that people ask. But let's start off with, what would you say are some of the major challenges, like maybe the top 3 challenges that anyone starting a home-based CNC business is going to run into in the beginning?
I think from the conversations I've had in the last couple of years. So the last couple of years, I've really started talking a lot more with my customers on a one-on-one basis, just developing relationships. And one thing that I find the most common is, not so much before, but nowadays, the CNC at home hobby, it's really romanticized. People see a lot of images. They see what people make. They see things for sale, and they see, oh, people made that on a CNC. All I have to do, I'm a woodworker, all I have to do is buy a CNC. And then they come to realize that now I have to, maybe you're not mechanically inclined, but you like woodworking, but now you have to put a machine together. Now you have to learn different materials. Now you have to learn your bits. Now you have to, maybe you're not a computer person. Now you have to learn the software. Software is a huge hurdle for people. And the next thing, really, depending on where you're going in your journey, if you are planning on selling items, some of it is business related, meaning that people, maybe you're a painter, maybe you're an accountant, maybe, you're a truck driver. People don't necessarily have that business background where, like, oh no, now I have to talk to people and sell things to people. And how do I keep track of my inventory? How do I keep track of my orders? How do I price my products? Like, it just kind of, it's these hidden things that people don't always think about.
Yeah. Pricing is a question that comes up a lot. So we will talk about that one for sure. And
pricing is my Achilles heel. I have a love-hate with pricing.
Yeah.
And I literally, I do it every day. That's my main role in my shop right now, is to do the large estimates. And it's a battle. There's no right and wrong answer.
Yeah. So we'll dive deep into that one. So one of the probably the best ways to share with all who are watching right now, if you are interested in starting a business, or you're making the attempt, but you're not feeling like it's getting very far. The number one rule that I like to put out there is, number one, is what we don't know is what we don't know. And if the business is not taking off or starting, then it's really it's starting very well. That it as my mentors always told me, it's because of the business owner, and it's because we don't necessarily understand business acumen, the business mindset. And this is the first thing to really think about when you are considering business, that it is a different mental philosophy that you have to operate by. It's because you're switching from a consumer to a business owner. And so it's you have to now start to learn the market. You have to pay attention to what people are wanting instead of what you think they want, or what you think people are going to like. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes I have seen, is creators will start to make something and they think it's a good thing, but it's the market is either not there or they are going after they're not finding the right people in the right place.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
So
I made that same mistake when I got my machine.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're just learning, then I think making things for yourself or things that you think people will like, as long as you don't have the intent of making 100 and selling them. If you want to make one because you like it and you're interested in, that's great because that keeps your interest in the product that you're making. But I would also, if you're just learning out and you're trying to find your market, is you make gifts for people.
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea of finding a market is you can start off with what you're passionate about, but you got to go to where those people are at. You've got to make sure that I've been a Jeep lover, and so I've made Jeep items. And we've talked about this, Bill. You probably still have that box sitting around. I've got a box sitting around of stuff I made, and I started selling it on Etsy, and that was not the place to sell it. Not for Jeep lovers. And I just happened to get lucky in our town. We have a festival once a year, art festival, and a lot of Jeeps come through during that festival. So I just put a table out, and I sold probably $1,000 worth of these little Jeep keychains. All right. Grandkids came in, they were selling it, so I gave them 50% of the profit, of the revenue from it. But yeah, it's so finding where people at, and that takes a little bit of time, a little understanding.
Well, one thing about business in general is it takes time. So a lot of people are in such a rush to jump in and get the ball rolling, and I 100% agree. I understand where that comes from, but what people don't understand is it's not an overnight thing. I mean, there's stories of people who do that, but for the most part, it takes years and it takes time. And as long as you're patient and you're willing to put the work in, then the results will follow.
Yeah.
Like when I was selling a lot of products at home, I had a rotation. So every year I would make one product for a certain time of year. It was Mother's Day. I would do this for Mother's Day, just one product, just for that Mother's Day. And that's the product I sold that Mother's Day. And then Father's Day, just one product. Christmas, maybe two. And then the next year rolls around. I've got that product in my backpack ready to go. I'll develop another product. And that's how I slowly started, creating an inventory, because I approached my products strictly from a business mindset, meaning that it had to follow in a certain criteria for me to be willing to make it. I went through the phase of making custom products, advertising, custom signs, whatever you want, I'll make it. I went through that phase and it was great. I was busy, but did I make a lot of money? Not really. Once I figured out what, I wouldn't say my niche, but once I dialed in some products and I treated it as a business, meaning I knew what the product was, I knew what my margins were, I knew what the profit was going to be, then things started picking up. So it takes time. I mean, that took 2 years, 3 years of trial and error and making and failing.
Yeah. So this is one of the things to point out is if you're working to generate a business, you have to make a profit. Right? A business, it's a hobby otherwise. And so one of the things is it comes down to pricing your projects. And I see way too many people, especially on Etsy, undercharging, like way low. And they're doing more work than is worth it to turn it into a living, unless they're buying from China and modifying something like a cutting board or something to that effect. But
I still get people sending me links from Etsy asking me to make things, and I just flat out say you might as well just buy it from Etsy.
Yeah.
Unless you're worried about quality and getting it locally made, then yeah, we can talk. If that's what you're comparing that price to and that's what you expect, you might as well just buy it from Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
share about custom jobs. When people are asking you custom jobs, it's what the first thing you got to make sure you do before you even start work on it.
Before you start work on it, the first thing I do is manage customers' expectations. Just make sure everybody's on the same page. The second thing is I get a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
I will not touch anything. I don't touch anything right now without a deposit. I don't, unless it's somebody that's bought 10 signs. We have a relationship. I won't do it.
So
Even if it's $20.
What's the importance of getting that deposit? Why is that?
It puts skin in the game for both parties, and it makes them committed, and it makes them know that you're serious. But more so, it's just an insurance policy. I will get a deposit that covers my time and my materials. So if it's 50%, then that covers my time and materials. I can make the sign. It can sit there for a year. If they don't pick it up, my time's covered.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then if you don't get a deposit, sometimes they don't.
Honestly, if you don't get a deposit, then I think the likelihood of that customer picking up a sign is drops way down. There's somebody not too far from me, and around Christmas time, his links start popping up on Facebook, and we just kind of compete. His prices are always cheaper, and at the end of he does 100% cash. He wants cash when you pick it up, and at the end of the year, he has a sale. All the products that people didn't pick up, he has them all on his garage floor. He takes a photo of them, and there's probably 50, 80 signs that people didn't pick up, and he has a sale, $20 each.
Interesting. So he just takes nothing but a loss over and over.
He just wants cash. And I understand, but at the same time, everyone has a different way of doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing to remember here is getting a deposit is a professional level of doing things. Like Bill said, it lets people know that you're serious.
Yeah. Right? And I get a deposit, and I have the same little blurb I give everyone every time, and I explain to them, I'm getting a deposit. This is why I'm getting the deposit. And it's like, as soon as I get a deposit, we'll discuss your project, and you will get a proof. Like, you will get an image proof. I don't just start making your stuff. I will send you a proof, and we'll discuss it. We'll make any changes that need to go forward, and go from there.
Yeah.
And then because the big thing now is sending money over the internet for something you don't have. So my name is everywhere. So I will people can go to my Facebook profile and see I'm a real person. I will send them photos of things that I've made. I'll send them photos of my house. This is where you're picking it up. Just to make sure that people know. But a deposit, I've had people tell me that this seems awfully scammy and I don't think I'm comfortable. And I say, that's fine. I understand. And I just go to the next customer.
Okay. Yeah. One other thing before we start tackling questions is, if you're starting a business, you, like Bill said, you start off with one thing. All right. I've had to mentor a lot of people in this where they just make a bunch of stuff, or they become way too flexible in what they are willing to make. And that really cuts down on your ability to keep up and to produce, to make more profit. I like to do it in a level because we have CNCs, and with CNC you can personalize. So you make a family of things or something to that effect, but very, very small niche, and then you customize. Right. So you're making the same things over and over again, but you're customizing.
Well, and the thing about having one product or starting with one product is it allows you to be efficient in making that one product. So the longer that you make that product, the more efficient you become. You can find shortcuts. If you know, like, for example, if I'm making monograms, I will buy 4x8 sheets and I will have them cut down into strips ready to go, because I know this material is for that product, rather than having a 4x8 sheet there and having a customer order a monogram and like, oh, I need to get my material. It's all ready to go. It's there. I can pull it out. I can see how many pieces I have left. You find efficiencies, which is, in the end of the day, make it more profitable.
Yeah, that's the other aspect about CNC business is efficiency. All right, let's start hammering in on some questions there. Bill, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So this question comes from Harold, Yard Sale LLC. Harold has been watching the channel for pretty much ever since I started. He says, when you get a free file or purchase files, can you use them to sell products that you make?
So, that's a loaded question. It depends, really. Even if you purchase a file, if you read the fine print sometimes, it will say for personal use only, meaning that if you take that file and go make 100 copies and they find it listed on an Etsy page, you could, I mean, I don't know if that happens, but
Yeah, I think his question is if you use the file and you make the project and sell it, sell the project.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I bought
don't
it
see
for.
why not either. If the but so anyone who is some companies like they'll give you a license, right?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you what you can do as part of the agreement with that license.
Right.
So if there is no license declaration, if they don't attach a license to it, then it's pretty much free reign.
Free for all, yeah.
Yeah. What I will say, it's good practice not to resell other people's files because number one, we just know it's immoral. Number two, someone has done work on that, and so they're making their own living on it. And so, yeah, Harold, yeah, if you buy a file and you make the projects and sell it, then there's no restrictions put in the license that they provide. Then usually licenses are just a PDF type of document. Or they'll send you an email and tell you what the license is.
It'll be a text version attached to the file.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So this is Kimberly. She is a regular here. Oh, by the way, I forgot, Bill. I'm gonna bring the girls in for a moment because so we have gotten quite a few donations a few weeks ago to take the crew out to a steakhouse. And so, folks, Kimberly, seeing you just reminded me of that. So, folks, on Monday, we went to the Chop House. And girls, tell about it.
It's a local steakhouse actually that I haven't had the chance to go into yet since it changed over. It was nice. It was good. The wine was good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. So we did go there, and they did rack up a little bill. So there you go. Kimberly's
also too, so you can't say that we racked up the bill.
I know. Well, let's just say we used the donations appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Kimberly, and everybody else. Kimberly, we still have not invested in dance lessons, but she is asking how the move is going.
Beautiful. I've got a few random things that are still finding their home, but generally, like, everything's home, everything's moved. I've been operating as normal. I'm warm.
And it's not raining in there.
And it's not raining inside.
All right. All right. Okay, girls. Thanks. All right. So Kim and my shop. Next week I will be believe talking from my house. I'm not sure yet. So I'm still at the old shop, but all my stuff has already been moved. Okay. So John has asked. He planned to put his alt mill in a corner of a shop. How much room should he leave around it? He was thinking 24 inches on all sides. John, yeah, that's a good amount of room to leave on it. It's 24 inches, 2 feet. That gives you plenty of room to walk around and make sure you do things around the machine. What would you say, Bill, when someone's setting up their machine? How much room should it? So the alt mill is a new CNC put up by CNC Labs, 4x4.
I mean, I like having access to all the sides. I like having access front and back if you want to push material through, depending on what you're doing. I tend to do that with mine because I will cut a piece and use my material. I'll just push it wastes up the back and I'm cutting rather than take it off and cut it. I'll just do that. But yeah. I like having access. Like you can never have too much access to your machine.
No. All right. We got a couple of first timers here, so we're going to have to do a happy dance. Bill, your first happy dance. So first of all, we have Journey Bruce and William Hag. So ladies, come on out. And we're going to do the happy dance for these two CNCers the first time here. See, this is what happens at IDC Woodcraft. We get a little weird, and this is just what happens. Just celebrating new creators here. Okay, so thanks, ladies. So, Stefan, is anyone in the community running a VCarve Pro on a Shikoku 5 Pro? What software do you use? You use CarveCo, don't
I'm a Carveco guy. Yeah. So
you? Okay.
I've been using ArtCam since 2010, which is Carveco.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just let folks, if you have a Shikoku 5 and you're running VCarve Pro, then
I'm sure there is.
yeah,
I'm
drop it in
positive.
the comments and tell them you're the one. So we got wooden Indian carvings. Ordered his first bits a few days ago. Can't wait till Friday. All right, and I'm sure Liberty's got it taken care of and on its way. Yep, she's even getting, so we can see her in the background. She's going, So you are taken care of, brother. Got a couple more first timers. We'll get back to them because we got to spread out the dancing just a little bit. Send another first machine and got a Shikoku a month ago. Oh my gosh, we got a lot going on here. All right, we'll bring these first timers back on a little bit. Okay, so Steven says looking into CNC as a skill set and personal hobby, possible side business in the future. First time here. Oh my gosh, we got dance for this guy too. So we're probably gonna have to do a collective dance, but Steve, here we go, brother. Here you go. All right. This cannot turn into an all-night dance party. I mean, come on. So let's talk to Steven and anybody in Steven's shoes. So he's looking into CNC as a skill set and personal hobby, possible side business. So in the future. So this is a pretty common story where someone buys a machine and they want to play around with it, but there's this idea of, can I generate some revenue off of it? So coming into it as someone in that mindset where they're not really there with the machine yet, they see potential with the machine. How would you say that they should start looking at it with the business eyeball? Yet still doing a hobby side hustle type of thing.
It depends on what he means by hobby, because some people will get into CNC because they build models, right? They build model cars and they see the CNC as a tool that'll help them in their hobby, but then they see it as, if I'm going to build parts for myself, why can't I build them for others? So I guess it depends on what that is. Maybe he's a furniture builder. So if the hobby is bringing him in to CNC, and that's where the passion lies, then I would try to explore continuing that passion into a business if it's feasible. Meaning, if you're a furniture maker and you think this is going to help you build furniture, how can you use that? And then how can you provide that service to other people? Or how can you broaden that hobby and keep that passion going? That's the way I would approach it, depending on what the hobby is and what he means by that, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's a good approach, Stephen, and anyone else who is looking at it saying, okay, getting into it as a hobby, you want to have some fun, be creative, right? That's what many of us do, especially when we're going into retirement. I know a lot of retirees like to get into this because it gives a good, it lets them exercise creativity. You can make, start to do something to leave a legacy, make stuff that, it's just something meaningful to them. It's a good perspective to come in with a hobby and use that as your learning experience of how to CNC. Right. At the same time, if you are wanting to start to generate revenue, you're going to do two different things in my perspective. Number one is you're going to do this. Let's learn about CNC by making things as a hobby and start studying market. Right. What do you want to make that people are going to buy? And I can tell you there are crazy, insane amounts of different ways you can generate revenue in a niche in CNC. And we have talked about Ellen here. So Bill, Ellen is Madra, That's the name that people see. She has CNC business fell into her lap when she was at I think a funeral. Is that right? And mentioned it, and now she's making custom parts for a company that I guess restores vintage jukeboxes.
Wow.
Right.
That's literally how it happens.
Yeah, and she's the only one that does that. But this is how niche CNC can get. But the big magic was she let people know. Right. So as you're doing CNC, let people know what you're doing, what type of machine you have, what you're learning, because that does spark curiosity, interest.
It just takes one idea from one person, right? So even if it's in your hobby and you're doing something and you're telling people, then you get their wheels turning. And then they might say, hey, can you do this? And that, who knows where that road takes you.
Yeah, it blossoms.
But again, it takes time.
Yeah. Okay, so we have from Spindle Jim. Let's see. Okay, so the question is, you mainly cut 3/4 inch thick cherry. What is a good thickness for an onion skin? What is a good depth below the bottom if you wanted to cut through the wood? And what's a good tab size?
Wow.
Have you done?
I don't leave onion skins personally. I just go all the way through. But
Okay.
I guess that's maybe the advantage of having a vacuum. But at home, I will leave onion skins if I'm using double-sided tape. I normally try to leave like 2 thou. But again, depending on how dialed in your machine is, how flat your wasteboard is, that onion skin could go from, a paper thin to a 16th and then back down to nothing, depending on your board. So normally I will just, rather than relying on an onion skin, I will use tabs. And normally, depending on how small the parts are and what I'm cutting, I use anywhere from a 1/4 inch wide tab, and I do the 3D tab, so it ramps up and then ramps back down, so it's thicker on the bottom, smaller on top. And I just do that because it's less material to take apart. So I'll do 0.1 inch to a 1/4 inch, 0.1 inch to a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch wide, 0.1 inch high. So
Okay.
And that's just depending on the part. So if you have a little tiny part and it's a circle, that 1/4 inch might be too wide because that's going to go down around a radius and it just makes an awkward cut.
Right. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, you don't have a CNC yet and don't really know what an onion skin is when you're doing a cutout on a piece of project, what many people like to do is not actually cut all the way through, but they'll leave a little thickness left just before the cut through. And what that does is that leaves support all the way around the project so the project doesn't pop out. And so an onion skin, like Bill said, up 2/1000 up to a 1/16 of an inch, and then you can just manually just break it away or use another tool to break, cut the rest of it away. A tab is when you're doing a cutout, and there's a little, basically the tool is lifting on the cutout, moving some more, and then going back down, and basically it's leaving material, a chunk of material to hold the outside of the material to the inside, so the inside piece that you're cutting doesn't start bouncing around. So, okay.
Onion skin is great until it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And tabs will work.
Yeah. But the flatness of your wasteboard, yeah. But if you're doing onion skins, you want a flat wasteboard.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to Harold. Harold's got another question. What platforms are best for making your business, selling plaques and custom signs?
Marketing. I use Facebook. I'm a huge fan of Facebook.
Facebook Marketplace?
All of Facebook. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace, but if you're just starting a business, I highly recommend you start a Facebook business page. And if you're just getting started, take photos of everything you do, post it on your personal page. If you're making gifts for somebody, get them to post it on your page, on their main feed. Start a Facebook business page for yourself, and then every time you make something, post it. You'll start gathering a customer, client base, followers, whatever it is, and the more it just kind of snowballs. But I use Marketplace a lot. I find local groups in my area, and then when I put a product for sale, I'll just post it in all the groups, and you can do it for free. So then you just, once your ad gets older, you can refresh it, relist it, delete it, put another one up, and then you can get into the paid.
Okay. So you do it in Facebook Marketplace. You do it in your Facebook business page. Do you post them on your personal page as well?
Not so much anymore. I do, because Marketplace is connected to your name, but I don't make a post on my personal page that I have something for sale. If you post something from Facebook on the Marketplace, all your friends can see it anyway as a listing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're starting out and you want people, then by all means put it on your personal Facebook page and get the more eyeballs on it when you're starting out, the better it is. That's why I'm a big fan of gifts. Then you've got another person who has a whole completely other following. They're posting it. Look what so-and-so made me. And it just kind of gets the ball rolling.
Okay. All right. And yeah, I can say from experience, when you start letting people know, your friends on like Facebook, I've had quite a few people come up and ask me if I could make something for them. So yeah, you undoubtedly will have people do that. So there you go. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook business page. Now, how would they find the Facebook business page? How does that, do you use particular keywords in the?
No, you create a business page for yourself.
Yeah.
So how do people, it's been a while since I've done this, but I believe if you start posting on your Facebook business page, you can sell items as well, which will create traffic to your Facebook business page.
Okay.
And you can also promote so if you make a post on your Facebook business page, you can promote it, meaning you throw $5 at it, and then it shows that post to 1,000 people. And then, you get people following your page from that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of money to get the ball rolling, but $5 here and there certainly helps.
All right. Okay. A question from John. This is more about a product from IDC Woodcraft. So you're asking if we have the muscle chuck for that particular spindle? No. The only muscle chuck we have is for the Makita trim router that you'll find on the CNCs. So, okay. So here's from Dan. As a fellow Canadian with shipping options, do you prefer for shipping with Canada to the U.S. and further abroad, or do you just like to ship from Canada? Or I know with your Facebook Marketplace, it's pickup only, right? Is that?
Yeah, I think she's asking about shipping options. So,
Okay.
So shipping in Canada is not what it is in the US. I use Canada Post. So all my bits go out Canada Post. They are by far the cheapest. And
by the way, folks, Bill does sell CNC router bits up in Canada, and I know where his bits come from. So, yep. So I know he's got good quality bits, and ladies, put his link. It's if you're in Canada, you want to support Bill. It's cncbits.ca. And now that I've asked Julianne, then or one of the girls. Yeah, take a drink. One of these days, I'm going to have real alcohol in my drink.
But for shipping in Canada, honestly, depending on the package size, it's Canada Post. For whatever reason, shipping to the US, even with Canada Post, just for an example, today, I don't get orders to the US very often, but I had one today. So I shipped out a package from here in New Brunswick to California, and it was a tracked air package, and it cost $9.21. And it wasn't an envelope. it was a box. So it was 24 by 4 by 4, and it was $9.21. For me to put an envelope in the mail using Canada Post, ship it to myself is $13.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what magic happens as soon as it crosses the border, but it's cheap. But normally, even for me to ship a tracked package through Canada Post is $20. Anywhere like starts at $20. That's just Canada. So a lot of people ask why I don't use UPS or FedEx. It jumps up to $60. It's incredibly expensive. Unless you have a large account using FedEx, UPS, Purolator, DHL, it's $40, $50. Doesn't matter how small of a package it is. That's the cost. It's just mind blowing. And Canada Post in Canada might be going on strike. So that's something that I need to consider.
Oh, yeah. So Todd was asking, do you also own Bits and Bits products?
Nope. Bits and Bits they're American, right? They're here US. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So John is asking, how do you use social media in your business? Which platform works for you? And are you using a business account on your personal? So we just covered that. Do you tie a Shopify store to your social?
So I use Facebook and Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I've done a horrible job at it. But that's what I use. And the trick is just it's consistency. It's posting as regularly as you can.
Yeah.
And I do a bad job at this. But the way is to add value to people, right? So people will only take so much throwing a product in their face. At some point in time, you need to add value in order for them to stop and look and pay attention to what you're doing. So you need to find a creative way to advertise what you're selling, but also inform, help your customer out, or because your customer has a need, you just need to find out what it is and help them, recognize you as a source.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to this, I want to tell everyone, do not underestimate the power of Facebook and Instagram. A lot of times we just see it as a social thing, and there's a few people we watch, what have you, but these are really, really powerful platforms for business. And, for many of you have seen the ads that I put out because it works.
I mean, that's advertising now.
Well, that's
social media is advertising.
But this is just advertising because it works that way. But also for personal social media, what Bill just said was consistency. Right? If we are going to choose a platform, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Etsy, TikTok, your own website, whatever, YouTube, the trick is consistent posting, particularly on Instagram and Facebook, because the algorithms there's so many people post so much stuff. The algorithms are going to favor those that are going to help the platform work better. And that happens by consistency.
And just pick one, start with one, and then learn how to do that consistently and well, and then go to another one. A lot of people will try to they'll start with 3 or 4. I'm going to do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then it just gets overwhelming to try to create content for 3 or 4 platforms. If you're not well versed in it, some people are very good at it, right, Garrett? Mm-hmm. But if you're not, it just becomes overwhelming. So right now, I just do Facebook and Instagram.
Right. But do it and figure it out on the fly. This is one thing with I've learned with business. Yeah. You jump off the diving board before the water's in the pool.
Don't wait, just start.
Yeah.
Because literally, especially with Instagram, you post something today, nobody's going to see it tomorrow.
Right. So Dean is asking, how does one find and get a business coach? Well, Bill and I will probably have to be talking here very shortly, because this is not the first time I've been asked about that. And Bill and I did training several years ago. We did it pretty regularly, so maybe it's time to crack that can of worms open again, Bill.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'll say one thing just as a little tidbit of information. If you're going to take advice from somebody, make sure that they've done what you want to do and they've been where you want to be. Don't take advice from somebody who has no idea what they're talking about.
Yes.
Like if you want to start a CNC business, don't take advice from your friend who's a mechanic.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's like asking a broke person how to get rich.
Yeah.
That's like a broke person giving you financial advice. Right. So you always want to go to somebody who has been there, like he said, and done it. I'm just reiterating because what he said is so important.
Somebody you respect.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are other ways to get a business coach. You can find entrepreneurs groups. I'm in an entrepreneurs group. Bill's in an entrepreneurs group. What are you in? You're in two.
I'm in two. Yeah. So I'm in an industry related one. So it's for wrap industry.
Okay.
And then I'm in a business one. It's RBO. So it's called Real Business Owners. So yeah, so there's two tiers. I'm in the lower tier because it gets really expensive.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of people don't understand it until they're in one. And Garrett, when you and I started talking, you were in one, and I didn't. It was foreign to me. I didn't quite get it. Now I get
it. Yeah. It can be intimidating getting into something like this. Here's another extension of what Bill shared before of not asking somebody who hasn't done it. Make sure that they've been down the road, they've gained success by it, and that is when if you want to get in a business and you seriously want to do it, you need to get around people. Like my mentor tells me, and like I work to do, is I want to be the dumbest and poorest person in the room.
in the room. Yep.
Yep. And basically, what that does, everybody's doing better. They're more successful. They have better, stronger business acumen than I do. I don't get. It's like going in and feeling like you don't feel very smart when you're in that kind of group, but it naturally pulls you up. Right. That drives a lot of success because you're hanging around a different group of people in a different thing.
And it's mindset. When you surround yourself with like-minded people that are looking to achieve a common goal and have a like-minded mindset where they're looking to excel at something,
yep,
it rubs off.
All right. Okay, so ladies and Bill, we're going to be doing a dance for several people here. We got first, so Curtis is first time joining the live, all right? And then we've got, how do you pronounce that? First time live, SPRDOGUNTS, NTZ. So first time here. Mighty Wicked is just finishing up setting his Fox Alien first CNC, and then Johnny got his first Shapoka 4 month ago. So we've got happy dances to do for 4 people. So let's rock it out, girls. Bill, This goes out to Johnny and Mighty Wicked and whatever, Spurs and Curtis. All right, there you go. Yay. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the show. Thank you, girls, ladies. Okay. And Kimberly donated $20 last week for us to go to dance lessons. So, all right, David. Yeah, from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Regina.
Hey. Yeah, Regina. Okay, Regina. Hobbies for 4040X CNC, 2 diode lasers, Cricut Maker, 3 and a 3D printer. Wanting to learn more. 70 years of age, and still learning. That's the other thing. Thank you for sharing this, David. Right, getting into business, you have to be in a learning mindset. We if you want to get into business, you have to learn what business is and what it's about. And that's like the earlier comment about getting guidance. But you have to be a learner. And I love that we have someone here that's 70 years of life experience and still learning. Should always be a learner. So very cool. You're welcome, brother. All right. So Harold says he needs help with getting his business jumping. The business name is B&H Woodcrafters after his son, Brian, and himself, Harold. So Harold, give a little more detail on that, and we'll bring that part of the question out, please. Because general, I need help doesn't help us help you in where you need help at. So here's one for you, Bill, from Mark. This is, what are your recommendations for performing market research?
Again, I'm going to go back to Facebook. Just because the marketplace, I find, is such a valuable tool. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can use Facebook in the sense that maybe, let's say whatever your product is, maybe it's wedding toppers, or you're making ornaments for weddings. You can join some local wedding groups and just simply ask questions. If you have a sample of your product, you can post it and ask if people are interested, right? The more feedback you get, and you just ask people to be honest. That's the best thing you can do, is say, I want honest feedback. And people, as long as they're polite and they'll tell you if they don't like it, then you know that that's not a good product. Or if you have a lot of feedback, you'll know it's a great product. Another way to do it is to actually, this one's a little more tricky, but you could post something for sale on Marketplace. You can post something taking orders, and then you'll get kind of instant feedback. You'll either know, if you get a bunch of orders in the first couple of days, then you've got a good product. If you don't get anything, then maybe your ad is not great, but maybe your product's not great as well. So there's different ways. If you're looking on trying to find what to make, that's going to be a little more tricky. You can use places like Etsy and then just search for, popular sales pages and just follow, because you can click on an Etsy link and then you can see right there how many of those items sold. That's another way to do it. But then, don't compare, what they're making with what you're making, I guess, depending.
Yeah.
That's a little more tricky, but.
Yeah. So Mark, let me tell you how I did my research for IDC Woodcraft. So IDC Woodcraft is a CNC router bit supplier, and we are now starting to supply CNC accessories as we grow and expand. But when I started, I was already being mentored by someone, and that mentoring made me aware that as a business owner, our job is to solve a problem. And it doesn't matter what business you're in, there is a problem that you're solving. All right. So in my business, there was a bunch of CNC groups, and I was getting to CNC. I was aware of the challenges I was having, and I was paying attention to the groups in Facebook and the things that people were saying over and over again. So to Bill's point on this one, if you think you want to get into a niche, say wedding like wedding decoration or wedding table toppers, go join wedding Facebook groups and just start paying attention to the posts. If you keep doing that, what you're going to start to see patterns of what people are wanting and what they're looking for. And as you pay enough attention, you're going to see that there's these more global type of patterns of what people want. And so once you see that global pattern, let's just say you start to notice that people are wanting specific table toppers, but they have a hard time finding this kind of whatever feel that they want. You can start to zero in on something like that, make a few samples, and like Bill said, you can create a post on your business Facebook post. You create the copy, the dialogue for the post that uses keywords that are related to what people are looking for in this. Right, and that is going to get you some research. But Facebook's a great place because we are all, there's two things people do in Facebook, three things. Businesses promote in Facebook, but for the casual person, as a consumer, the consumer end of Facebook, they're either sharing something about themselves that they want the world to see, or they're trying to solve a problem. They're asking a question. Right, so this is one way of doing it. So, but you want to look into niches. Another thing, if Kate, you've talked to Kate, try to work towards women products. Women are the buyers, and they're generally in the household the decision makers when it comes to buying things. This is market proven research. So, and the women are more emotional in their stuff. I don't know. I'm going to bring the girls on board on this one. Let them give some feedback on the woman side of things, right? I mean, you guys are the buyers. It's like Liberty. She does not have the same set of clothes for one single day she's worked for me. Right? So I don't know what she does, but
Have a goodwill.
Yeah. I mean, as a consumer, right? What is your driver as someone who goes and looks for stuff? Either one of you. And kind of keep it in line with the.
I do a lot of research before I buy anything. I'm comparing prices of other similar products. I'm comparing reviews of the products. And it takes me a good probably 2 to 3 weeks to even settle on actually buying one
Yeah.
thing.
So that's your methodology. That's your research phase.
Yep.
Right. So a customer journey is they have a problem, they do the research, they get the solution. That's the 3 steps of a customer journey. So it starts with a problem or a desire. Right. So you guys are stepping in with a desire. Right. And so what drives your desires to, what's the underlying thing? Are you, I think what I'm trying to go with this is just to give insight from the female perspective as a consumer. When you are thinking of getting something, right? Is it emotional? Is it,
I
is that
mean, if it's like I mean, it kind of depends. Is it a need? Then it's more need / emotionally driven. If it's just decorative, it's like, am I gonna be okay with having that in a few years? Do I want to keep that around? I do. Yes. Let me go ahead and get that. Like, does it match with my vibe?
Is it useful?
No, that's a good point. It's the vibe. What's the vibe of the buyer, right? So anyway, yeah, just want to make that point. Bill, let's talk a little bit about pricing. So Don here, what should the profit margin be? Very few sellers do what I do. So let's talk about pricing. How you calculate your cost of materials, cost of time, how you roll in profit margin.
So I mean, again, pricing can be as complicated as you want it to be or as simple as you want it to be. Depending on where you are in your journey with CNC, kind of will guide you as to how to price. Meaning, if you're just, I talk to people who are just starting out, who are learning, who just want to cover their costs. So, there's people that are just happy to make their money back and then a little bit more. And then there's people who are part-time weekend warriors who still want to make a profit. And then there's people who are part-time, half of their daytime is CNC. And then there's people that are full-time. So depending on where you are kind of dictates what you need to account for. So one of the things that I tell people, even if you're starting off, is to track everything you do. If you don't track things, you can't control it at the end. You can't the more information you have, the better it is. And I mean, like, how much time does it take you to do a file? How many paintbrushes do you go through? How long does it take you to put paint mask on an item? How long does it take you to change your bits? Like, if you don't track these things, then the further you go down the line, you don't know how to charge appropriately for them. So for me, one of the most important things when you're deciding on your pricing is, again, depending on where you are in your journey, is your hourly rate. So how much you want to get paid per hour. And again, nobody can tell you what that is, because what I want to get paid per hour is going to be different than what Garrett wants to get paid per hour. And my cost of living, my material costs are going to be different than Garrett's, going to be different than somebody else. So I really don't recommend people go on Etsy and try to get prices off Etsy. Like, that's some market research, right? Because when you're pricing a product, at the end of the day, the market is going to support what the market's going to support. So you can do your math and say, this is a $500 sign, but if the market's only going to pay $250, there's got to be some compromises. So just a quick rundown of how I price things. This is the way I personally do it at home. Again, the way I price things at home is different than I price things at the shop.
Well, let's talk about how you do it at home.
Yeah, but I'm just for an example. Like, there's different levels of pricing. So at home, I determine my hourly rate. So for me, it's $60 an hour. If I'm working on a file, doing design, if I'm out in the shop, I charge for my CNC time. So it's $60 an hour. If my machine is running, it's $60 an hour. So I charge for design. So again, depending on where you are, this is why I say tracking is important. If you're just starting out and somebody comes and wants a design, and you know that it's going to take you 2 hours to do it, can you realistically charge them $120 for design? Not really. For me, I've been doing it for a while, so I can kind of ballpark pretty quickly what it is. But another thing is, most of my products, I have them dialed in. So I know that this is a 5-minute design. I might charge them $15 because that's built into my pricing, but I know how much time it's going to take me. So let's say we did design. So if it's 15 minutes for design, there's $15. The next thing I do is I charge my material by the square footage, and I do a markup. So there's markup and margin. For home, I do markup. So if I'm buying plywood and it's $10, I do 3x markup. Some people do the cost of materials, some people do 2x. Again, I can't tell you what's wrong and right. I can tell you what I do. I try to account for all my miscellaneous costs. So I'm making a profit on that material. I have to go get it. I have to bring it home. I need a truck. I need some way to go get it. That's my time. That's my fuel. I bring it home. I process it down into sheets. Like, that's all time that's not really in the price. You can't charge somebody to go to Home Depot and back, but you can charge them a markup on material. So I calculate my square footage and I charge a markup. I will then charge for my CNC time, because I've paid for that machine. I'm paying for the software. I'm paying for bits. I'm paying for upkeep. That needs to be accounted for somehow. And again, a lot of people will guess, but I like to have it written down. And I know, like, that 15 minutes of machine time is now being converted into something I can charge for. So I'm charging for my time. And then I charge for my production time, any materials used. So if I'm using paint, paint brushes, paint mask, I will do like a 2x. So if I'm buying a 50-cent paintbrush, I'm going to charge the customer $1. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep track of that, because at the end of the day, if you go through 10 paintbrushes in 3 projects, and all of a sudden you've got to go buy a bag of paintbrushes and you didn't account for where that cost of the paintbrushes, like, you're going to start pulling money out of your pocket to buy supplies. So if I buy a can of paint, and let's say it's a big can, but you're only using a little bit, do some quick math. And if it's 1 can of paint, that I don't paint. So that's one of my rules too. I don't paint, because that's an added cost I don't want to carry. But either you make the customer pay for that paint. If it's a weird beige that you only use for this one sign, I add that whole price of that paint into that cost, because I might never use that again. If that's a $50 can of paint, I don't want to carry that cost. So I write all these things down. I have a spreadsheet. I go through. I take account of everything, and at the end of the day, my sanding, my finishing, my painting, I keep track of that time, and I keep a realistic track of that time. Like if you go in your garage and you turn the heat on, you get some music going, you sweep the floor, and then you start painting, you can't charge for that. It literally, I've done it. It takes 3 minutes sometimes to paint a sign. If it's 3 minutes, maybe I'll round it up to 5, and I charge them $5. But I keep track of all of those costs, and then you can have your price, because you're charging. So right now I'm charging for my time, my labor. That's my profit. My accountable time is what I'm charging the customer. So at the end of the day, if you're at a craft fair and you have a sign for $100, you know where all those prices came from. You know how you got to that. So if a customer comes to you and says, I like that sign, I want to buy it for my staff, I want 10 of them, will you do them for 70? Some people just jump at it and be like, oh, that's $700 for 10 signs. But if you know your numbers and you know that, it's going to cost me, that profit is right there. That's $20 profit. You're not going to, you can do it in your head, and you can just be like, well, I can't do it for 70. I can do it for 80 though. Like if you know your numbers, you can make educated decisions, I guess. So that was a long way around it, but
Yeah.
pricing, I get worked up over pricing.
Yeah. So in the beginning, when you're doing this and figuring this out, if you were to bring this down, dumb it down for someone who's just starting, so they don't feel too overwhelmed with trying to figure all this stuff out, what would be the 3 things that they need to keep track of? And what do they need to compare it against? Meaning, so that's kind of a loose question. So what I said, compare it against, we have the hourly rate that we need to get. We have the profit we need to get out of this.
Yeah, and that's why I like the hourly rate for people at home. Just because decide what you want to get paid. And some, like beginners, it may take you 2 hours. You might not be able to charge for that 2 hours, but at least you'll start, having a list in your head, a database in your head of how long it takes you to do things. You'll become more efficient at it. If you just make something and then throw a price tag on it, if you have to duplicate that, or somebody wants to, and you haven't priced it appropriately for your time and your materials, then how do you know if you're making any money? So I like tracking time, and materials is simplest. I just break everything down to square footage, and I'll actually, let's say you're doing a cutting board and you're gluing boards together. I will round it up. If it's a 12 by 18 inch cutting board, but you used 14 by 20 inches of material, I charge for all that material. Like that's something that's going in the garbage. So I always round up, never round down, because at the end of the day, it's about making a profit. So as long as you keep track of your time, your material, your costs, paint brushes, stuff like that, any finishing, a lot of people tend to just say that's a cost of making a sign. But if you don't track it, then how can you account for it?
Yeah. When it comes to this pricing stuff, one of the things that we'll see, like people go to Etsy and they'll see prices of some stuff that's way low, right? And so you go, oh, I got to charge that much, $45 for a cutting board, right? Made of walnut, and so that is a competitive mentality, and it's a race to the bottom.
Yep.
Right? You think you're in competition, and the biggest thing is to not feel like you're in competition. You're not. It's you. The trick is finding the markets that's going to work for you, right? That where, as Bill has said, many times when we were doing business training in the past, that when you post your stuff on Etsy, you are being put out there with all your competitors. Right. So Etsy is it's a good learning ground, a good proving ground, to get some skills up, learn how to take pictures, learn how to write the article, the copy, the description, stuff like that?
And I mean, a story from 6 months ago, somebody approached me about making these little cheese boards, and it's for the local government. So it was a serious customer. So she gave me a sample. She asked me to make one so she could show her boss. So they were getting these boards made locally. The man had retired and he was done. He was in his 80s. So she said, we're interested in getting some. How much? And I said, well, let me figure it out. She said, just so you know, we were getting them for $20 each. And I was like, if that's the thing, then I'm not even going to bother because I can't touch it for $20. I knew right away, just from the time I had making one, and I knew I could make some efficiencies and tweak it. But the time involved to cut these out, to sand them, to oil them, to engrave them for $20 each, I couldn't do it. And again, my instinct was like, oh, maybe I can make $20 work. But I was like, for $200, I don't need to work for 10 hours for $200. It just wasn't worth my time. But if you don't know that, if you don't know your time, what you value your time at, what materials cost, then how, it lets you make educated decisions.
Yeah. And this is a good point too. Don't make something and whether you're going to lose out.
No.
Don't be afraid to say no. No is a complete sentence, and no can be a very profitable word.
It's my favorite thing now.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as to be mean, but I've learned in the last few years with the sign shop to say no. Like it pulls you away from what you're efficient and good at and your niche. And even though it might be shiny and flashy and you think, that's the latest and greatest and looks like easy money, it pulls your attention away from your goals.
Yep. Yep. That's the importance of niching, is to not get yourself, you start making too much stuff, you get confused. It brings your mind in lots of different angles, and that creates confusion. And that confusion, believe it or not, psychologically, you bring that out, you project that out to your marketplace, and that a confused customer doesn't buy. You can project your confusion to the customer. So, okay. From William, how do you find out what to make if you want to sell? So we kind of talked about that a little bit. I will share, you can start with what you're passionate about. Like, I'm a Jeep lover, but I need to know where the Jeepers are going to buy at. Facebook turned out to not be a good place for me to promote my Jeep products, and I did try that. And there's lots of Jeep groups out there, right? The best. So you have to understand what and when the market's going to buy. So if you're going to make Jeep stuff, you need to make it and go to a Jeep Jamboree. That's when you're going to sell the stuff. So that brings up another point, is mass production. If you're brand new, don't think about making a whole bunch of stuff. Make one or two, get it, pictures made, and get it out there. If people want it, then you can take the deposit and say, yeah, I'll make it.
And sometimes you don't know what you want to sell. You won't know until it lands on your lap.
Yeah.
Somebody will ask you to make something. The thing is, make something. So the more you make, the more you learn, the more you can do. And you will make something for somebody, and it will catch. Somebody will ask for it, and then you'll post a picture, and two other people ask for it, and then your mother's friend will ask for it. It snowballs like that.
Yep, and you want to get eyeballs on it.
And the trick is not to, don't wait, just make stuff. Just find something you're interested in. Find something that's a little challenging. It's okay to be uncomfortable and want to learn, right? If you're not uncomfortable, you're not learning. So learn and go.
The entrepreneur group coming out in you.
Yeah, pretty much. Just expand your skills. Make something new. Share it. Like I said, gifts are the best things. You can make something for somebody. You don't need a reason. Just
There's a creator out there. His name is Jeff, and he's dialogued with me quite a bit over a few years. working to figure out his way. And he dialed in on whiskey smokers with the fans.
Yeah.
And now, but he's taken a lot of time at it. And he had to learn the bumps and bruises, right? This goes back to being patient. But he narrowed down to that and just started to make that better and better and better. And now he's starting to drum up business. But it took him about a year. I mean, given the guy is he's family guy, he's working a full-time job and what have you. Okay, as far as questions go, we're past, we're 20 after, so the questions that were brought to our attention were cut off at 9 at the top of the hour. So we still have a bunch in the queue. So let's start hammering this out. This is from Rich. He said, I know it's been asked only about 1 million times, but how do you figure out what to charge? Yep, a loaded question. Okay, so we just talked about that. But I am going to talk about a different way of thinking. I don't want you to start thinking about what is the best way to charge. Find the market that's going to pay the most money for your product. Believe it or not, there are different demographic levels that people are willing to spend money at. So there was a comment earlier, I think it was from Dole. He said he would rather get a $15 hamburger than a $3 hamburger. Right. So that comment alone shows his quality mindset. You have your dollar store shoppers, you got your Walmart shoppers, your Kroger shoppers, your Nordstrom shoppers, whatever, and understand that these people, I can't stand going to the dollar store. I feel dirty and cheap, right? Because the stuff is dirty and cheap, right? It's just and the clientele that goes in there is not the cleanest clientele. It's just, even Walmart for groceries, I'd prefer going to Kroger. I'm a higher end shopper. So the trick is to find where the higher end shoppers are at. And that's where you want to cater to them, to your wares to them.
And sometimes it's just a tweak to your product, right?
Yeah.
So you could be selling, like I see a cutting board in his photo. You could be selling a live edge cutting board. Nobody around you wants to buy. You start putting some type of engraving on that, and all of a sudden it'll appeal to a different market. Mm-hmm. It could be wedding gifts, right? It's little things like that. It's just a fine tweak. You put handles on it all of a sudden.
Sometimes it's just a matter of marking up the product. So Jack in the shop here, what he does, he's been a lineman, right? Dealing with the electrical wires and stuff like that.
The saw, with the plasma.
Yeah. And so he's plasma cutted. He's taking the hand saws and he plasma cuts lineman things on it. And he says here, he's raised his price 3 times.
That's awesome.
Sometimes price is perception, or perception is based, so he's raising his price. He started off at a lower price, right? Because that's what he thought that it was worth. All right. And then he raised his price, and he raised his price, and he raised his price. Don't be afraid to raise your price. Right? The market is going to pay based on their mindset. The $15 hamburger versus a $3 hamburger. Think like the $15 hamburger guy. Right?
And scarcity too, right? If you project a scarcity for your product or a high-end elite, there's only so many like this, you can charge a higher dollar value.
Yep, scarcity. But so I've seen people sell cutting boards for $1,200.
Oh yeah,
$2,400 was a guy. I mean, granted, it's thicker, it's bigger, but that it's not that much more work. He just found the right market.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So realize that there are people out there that want to spend more money because that is who they are. And that's the group you want to find. All right, Curtis. His biggest challenge is getting decent pricing on wood. Paying retail price is restrictive. Any advice on negotiating wood costs and supplies? So I not really a good answer on that one.
I mean, I think, did he say it was in British Columbia? Is that the guy? I just recognized the logo. For me, I don't even, I wouldn't order wood online. The price of that would be astounding. If you're willing to travel, there's got to be somebody by. There's got to be a specialty wood store. For me, my specialty wood store is 2 hours away, so every time I'm there, I buy. I will ship wood from them, and I do have to pay. I think it's $80 to have it shipped via transport, and I will buy more than I need and add that into the cost of my wood. The other thing I do is there seems to be more and more people, at least in my area, with sawmills and woodlots. So I will go buy rough cut lumber from somebody with a sawmill who's cut it, and then I will dry it myself.
Mhm.
But I don't buy any hardwoods from Home Depot or Lowe's or big box stores. I will get it from a specialty wood store. It's still it's much cheaper, like much cheaper.
Yeah. Curtis, the best thing to do is to price it in, just like Bill said. You get your material price, you know what your material cost is, and what should you do? Double that? Is that what?
Again, it depends on your own goal. I triple it.
Triple. Okay, there you go. But
Depends on much work. The more work that you have to put in to get it, then triple it. But the thing is, if you build a product and you have to triple your price of materials because it's so much and you have to get it and there's shipping, and then all of a sudden, the more you work at it, you'll find a supplier. One day somebody will walk in and all of a sudden your cost is cut in half. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to pass it on to your customer. You just made that much more margin.
Right. So the other thing you can do, like Bill said, you can find a local mill. Right. You can go to Facebook,
Yep.
go to Facebook Marketplace, search up lumber.
Yeah, there's people in my area. I mean, I'm in a heavily treed area, but everywhere, just selling all types.
Yeah.
The thing is, you will be limited to your local species of wood, right? Like I can't go get black walnut from a local sawmill because it just doesn't grow here. But there's got to be a specialty wood shop somewhere near you.
Yeah.
And sometimes if that means taking a 5-hour drive, depending on what you're doing and how critical it is to your business, then you make that drive once a month.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Curtis, you got to price the wood in. Right. You if you're going to pay a high price for wood, that, like Bill said, you got to bring your price up. Figure your square footage you use, and then triple that. Triple the cost of what that square footage cost you. So we have all right, wooden Indian carvings. What's the best way to determine what will sell at craft shows, farmers markets, etc., in a specific area?
That takes, again, a little bit of market research. So
yes.
If you were posting an item on Facebook and you're selling some, then I would, again, I don't like pre-making tons of items for craft shows, just in the off chance that they won't sell.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have little items. There's one right here. I don't know if I can grab it here.
Yeah, while he's doing that, this is one of the things, if you're going to do craft shows, you have to make in volume. And then you got to haul that back and forth, and you may never sell stuff. I got a box at home full of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a box, right? You still got that box?
I do, yeah. But these, I used to make these for Christmas. So I would make 20, bring them to a craft show, they would sell. And sometimes I hang a little ball off of these. But again, I make these because this is scrap material. That's why I came up with this. How can I use this has a big crack in it. It has a crack in it and a knot. So I will use my scrap material for stuff like that. So I don't mind making that because that's almost firewood anyway. But what I normally do for craft shows is I will bring items like this I know will sell. I know cutting boards normally sell, stuff like that. And then I will bring samples for custom orders. So my big money maker at craft shows was taking custom orders, having people have a product as a sample in their hand. And then I would take a deposit. I would bring a sheet. I would write down all the orders, emails, all that stuff. And then that was huge for me at craft shows.
Okay. And so, yeah, let's get the market research. Go to the show first before you make anything. Decide to set up a booth. Don't assume that you can sell at a show. All right, you want to understand the type of show it is, the type of people that are going, what they're willing to spend. Are you going as a family thing? Yeah, you got to get a feel of it. Go talk to the vendors.
There's different shows and there's different levels. I've been to tiny shows in the gym of a church, and I've been to large shows that are in the Coliseum. So you have different shoppers at each one of those. The one driving by the church on a Sunday or Saturday, whatever it is, they're not going to be hauling out wads of $100. They're just window shopping, right?
Yeah.
But the ones that go to the year advertised Christmas craft show, they're there to shop.
Yeah.
So you get the the $20 items, but you get people walking out of there with expensive items.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So here in Madison, Indiana, we have our Chautauqua, the big art festival. It takes up many streets, and there's lots of people here, and they're here to shop, right? That's a big festival. They're shopping. But farmers market, we have a little farmers market over there, and I wouldn't set up a booth there if you paid me. It just wouldn't. Because you got to go pay attention. You got to go be there. Okay, Bill, got to say a couple thank yous to people. So, David, he said thank you, Garrett and Bill, for this video, and contributed $20 for our time. So, thank you, David.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, and then we have Billy McGee. He did $20 too. He said this was so informative. Billy, you're welcome. You're welcome. So how these two amazing creators donated on the YouTube channel, IDC YouTube channel, just below the video, there's a little money sign, right? And you click there, and they donated. So guys, thank you very, very much for contributing. Bill, a couple weeks ago, like I said, I had to take the girls out for.
Yeah, I think I was there for that.
Yeah, I mean, we had donations like $250.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody drop $100.
Yeah, so and they said it's for dinner and to make sure margarita. I think they had wine though. Yeah, Moscato. Is that right, Julianne? Moscato. Yeah. Okay, that was good wine. Okay. So Brian was saying, when will the 30-degree 1/8 shaft V-bit be back in stock? With Julianne or Liberty, go ahead and just type in the information into the comments to let him know. So I don't manage stock and inventory. Julianne and Liberty take care of all that. Okay, so from wooden Indian carvings, what's the best way to determine what will sell? Oh, okay. We already just had that question.
Well, another thing to add there, he says in a specific area. So one thing you can do, market research, every area has some type of attraction, right? You're by a coast, you're by a lighthouse, you're by the mountains, right? Everything kind of has, like for around here, we're on the Bay of Fundy, whale tails, right? Like there's always something. So just try to find out what that is in your area, especially if people are buying gifts for people far away, right? They want a memento of where they bought it from, kind of thing like that. So always look for that extra little thing you can do.
Yeah, the theme, the feel of the area. Yeah, absolutely. So Dave is saying, if you're serious about getting into some serious volume, is it a hobby type machine like Onefinity Shapoka or Long Mill MK 2.5 doable?
I guess it depends what volume is, though, right? Because you're going to be limited to your bed size. So,
yeah. So, well, he's saying get into serious volume. So if you are going to get into volume, that means that machine is going to be running a lot.
And I mean, it depends what it is. Like I have a 5x10 at the shop. I do 4x8s. I've done years in the years past where we were doing thousands of signs on a 4x8 sheet and just cutting them out. It's a lot of work. So depending on what you're doing, it depends on the size of what you mean by volume. Because
Yeah.
if,
So well,
if that one, yeah,
let's put it in perspective. If you're going to make a bunch of coasters, right? So first of all, if you're going for volume, you want efficiency, and we're going to assume by going with volume, you are going to generate enough profit, right? So with volume, you want a more powerful machine
rigid.
that's more rigid, and it's just built to run a lot. So the and these things so the Monfinity Shapoka long mill are going to work. However, if you are going for serious volume, these are out of the question. You need to get the pro level machines. Okay, like the Phantom. Right.
Depends again what is volume.
Yeah. I'm just saying if he's going serious volume, that's telling me okay, we are going to be making a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Period. All right. So.
And again, it depends. Are they small? Are they big? What's
Yeah.
your material? Right. If your material only comes in 2x2 foot squares, then having an 8-foot table might not be ideal.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to play. Like the reason Bill is questioning that because there's a lot of other variables to take into consideration. But if you're thinking on what I'm thinking, let's just say you're going to volume cutting boards, right? You need 4x4, 4x8,
Yeah.
and not those machines. You need to get up to pro level machine. These are welded body machines. They weigh 1,300 pounds.
If you're using sheet goods, then you need something that can handle 4x8.
Yeah, and you're going at least $15,000. So, on that note, if that's not a commitment you're ready to make, start with one of these because they will still be a good machine for you. They'll get you started, and then you can let the machine buy the next machine.
Yeah, and I mean the way around that is you start with a solar machine, you develop a process, you develop a product. When you're ready for more volume, you sub it out, develop the clientele in order to support you getting machine.
Yep. Subbing out's a really good thing to do. And what that means is if you're getting into more volume, find a couple of CNC creators and there's a ton of us out here, who are getting into this and they'd love to be able to make something like, make some money off of it. So you would pay them to make stuff, subbing it out, and then you would get it and finish it up. Or the most efficient way would be pay them to make it, and then you just become pass through. Right, and then you just mark it up from there. So Jake says we're talking about CNC business prices and money. Touchy subject, but what is your annual profit? How many years have you been at it? So much time. So we talked about this before, right? We brought this in the introduction. That you must have just missed that one. So Bill's been and how long have you been in CNC business now?
So I've had a CNC for 14. It'll be 15 years soon.
Okay. And you run a professional shop and you run a business.
Yeah, and again, the CNC at the sign shop is just a part of it. It is not just strictly a CNC shop.
Mm-hmm.
And at home, I didn't mainly live off of my CNC. It subsidized what I did at the time. Could I have? Maybe. Again, I'm in a very low populated area, so that would involve shipping and taking that to another level, which I didn't pursue because it wasn't really my goal. But
yeah. So there was a question that was, they have trouble thinking of what to make and sell, and so this is very common early in the journey. First of all, think simple. So if sometimes we want to get into making 3D models and selling the 3D models, that's a ton of machine time. Just to make something that's not sell the 3D models, but you carve something out that's got the 2.5D relief, and then you want to sell it. It's very difficult to recover the cost on that. So you want to think simple.
Yeah. So when I can give you my kind of guideline for when I'm looking for a product that I'm going to consider to offer to the, and then when I mean offer, I mean like I'm going to advertise it and it's Christmas time and I'm going to advertise this as one of the products I'm going to sell. So I call it, try to remember this. So I call it 3 E's. So it needs to be easy for me to customize it. It needs to be easy to make, and it needs to be easily repeatable. So easy to customize. I want a simple file where I can go in, I can type in the customer's name or do whatever changes I want. I don't want to have to go in and edit a bunch of vectors. I want simple name change, few layers. Like I don't want multiple things. I don't want anything to go wrong. I want to be in and out 5-10 minutes. I want it easy to make. So I'm going to do 1 or 2 bit changes. I'm going to sacrifice fine detail for speed, because at the end of the day, this is about making a profit on this product. So I want 1 or 2 bit changes. If you have something with 4 or 5 bit changes, ball nose and V bits, every time you put a bit in, there's room for error. You can not put the right file in. You can forget to zero every time. It's just an instance where you can screw your whole project up and have to start over again. So I want it easy to make. Easy to make means 1 or 2 bit changes, and I'm not painting. I will use a colored material, or I would offer it to the customer for them to finish, because one of the things I've found is staining, painting, that is time consuming, where you don't always, it's hard to make your money back if you're charging by the hour. If you got to put 2 coats of stain on a monogram, it could take you 40 minutes per coat. And the other thing was easily repeatable. So what I mean by that is I am going to use a man-made material with a consistent material. Sorry.
For lack of ACM or MDF.
Yeah, I want plywood, MDF, alu panel, PVC. I want something that I can have a sheet here in my shop, and then a month later I can buy a sheet from a different supplier and it's the same consistencies. I don't want to worry about gluing boards together. I don't want to worry about knots. I don't worry about boards twisting, not finding the right grain. Like I want it easy. Like those are the 3 things. I want it in, out. And that's just my mindset for selling products that are simple to make. Like that's consistent. You can dial that process in because it's easily repeatable. I went through a phase where I was offering custom signs at Christmas. That was great. I was busy, but I didn't make a lot of money for the time I had invested. I made some nice signs, but I didn't charge for my time the way I should have, the way I do now. So those are the 3 things that I look for when I'm considering to make some products.
Okay, that like takes it down to brass tacks.
Okay.
It really does. Simple, easy, repeatable. That's it. Really just brings it down to the way you want to think about it. And I like the idea that you said you like the material to be consistent.
Yeah.
Right?
That way, it doesn't matter where you cut, you know what the outcome is going to be.
Yep. And so you're using manufactured materials as opposed to wood. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use the wood, but there's variations, and that so.
But again, that just adds to time. If you got to, glue boards together, what happens if you have a cutting board to make and all of a sudden it warps?
Right.
Right. And my goal in those is just to pump them out.
Right. Okay. Doug, you said when it comes to CNC machines, how do you compare the Shapoka 150, Elite, or Alt Mill? So we'll leave that to another next week. You bring that question because we could talk about that for a little while. All right. Oh, we got a couple happy dances coming up, so better get Liberty. Come on back. So in the meantime, let's answer this question from Johnny. What software is best for CNC? Depends on what you're doing, Johnny. First of all, if you're doing the general, these nice signs and stuff like that, Vectric, Carveco, what Bill uses, these are good for sign work, very unique custom work. If you're doing cabinet work, then you need to get cabinet software.
Or parts, Fusion 360.
Yeah. 360. So if you're buying a CNC in the home and you're planning on making legacy items, we'll just call it legacy items, which is signage and stuff like that, then he's a Carveco guy. I'm a Vectric guy.
And
So
they're basically the same software, just packaged in a different.
yeah.
And one you pay monthly, one you buy a subscription. You buy it outright. I mean,
Yep. And so Brandon, that answers your question too. What's a good software? All right.
and can I just say one thing there for software? So
Yep.
there's free softwares out there. There's Easel, Carveco. There's other free softwares, but I would recommend if you're serious about it, then get one of those two softwares. Get Vectric or Carveco and learn that software, because there's nothing more frustrating. And people I've talked to is they will spend months learning Carbide Create just to realize that it's limited. It won't do what they want it to do, and then they'll move to another software. So now they have to relearn software all over again. So every software is slightly different, even though it does the same thing. But just do your research, pick one of those two, and I would go with it. And if you're making parts, look at Fusion 360, but don't. A lot of people's first instinct is to dive deep into the free software, which is great, and I understand. But there are Vectric and Carveco both have like a lower version. And they do have free trials for both of them as well. So I would strongly recommend that you dive towards one of those.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with Bill. So there's machine questions out here. There are software questions. Julianne, so I want you to get the CNC Buyer's Guide link.
You guys talk about that. I got to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. So these questions of people are saying, what's the best machine? How do I compare these machines? And so what I did is I put together a buyer's guide. And it's like a 50-page document. And it really dives deep into, first of all, it looks at you. What do you want to do? What's the quality you want to get out of your machine? What do you looking to do with your machine? What is the future potential? And some other things. So if you're not sure about a CNC, it also talks about customer service and stuff. So Julianne is going to put a link in the comments where you can get that buyer's guide. That's free. And I suggest getting it and starting to look through it. It's got like little check boxes throughout. So you can say, no, I want this, or I want this, or I want this. And it can help you narrow down on the size machine, the type of drive you want to make sure you get. And also, Bill mentioned about the setup earlier. So we have the CNC router setup checklist. So he talked about forgetting to set your Z or something to that effect. We've all made those mistakes. And these are all the little micro steps that you do when you're setting up your project on your CNC router to carve. So this is available to you as well for free. It's a setup checklist. So if you follow it, you won't make any mistakes and forget to turn your router on or forget to set your XYZ. But I do recommend you get that buyer's guide. We actually put a lot of time and effort into that. So what else do we have? So yeah, get Liberty back on in there so we can do a happy dance. We got John as a first timer here, so we got to get him the party going for him. So there's thoughts. Yeah, it's another machine related question. Oscar, you're asking about the Yara Home Silverback. First time here. Oh, we got another first timer. So, okay, well, we're just going to have to do this without Liberty. Liberty has stepped away. She's probably taking care of her daughter or something. So it's going to be you, me, Julianne, and we are going to do a little happy dance for Oscar. And we got John Gardner. John. All right. Yes. Love having first timers here. We get to have a party. Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, Julianne. Love to dance. Here's a good one from Windy City Smokers. About how many hours should 1/8 compression bit run before getting dull? Of course, the first question is what's the material you're running all the time?
A little bit of variables in that.
Yeah. It's kind of a loaded question because number one, it's going to depend on your material. It's going to depend on your feeds and your speeds, right? These are three variables that are going to influence how long that bit should last.
And your depth of cut as well.
The what?
Your depth of cut, right? Some people could just be using the tippy tip.
Oh yeah, depth of cut as well. So that's a challenging question. But this is another thing to address on a note of this. If you're serious about production, right? Serious about making the same thing over and over again. That's when you want to optimize. You want to start understanding chip loads. You want to start understanding your optimal feeds and speeds and depths of cut in the
And
material.
not every machine is capable sometimes of running at those needed feeds and speeds. Like you should be able to touch your bit when you're done. I mean, you're not going to like grab onto it, but you should be able to touch it and not burn yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Good
So
point.
if your bit is that hot, then it's creating too much heat, too much friction, which is dulling your bit. So you need to speed it up.
So on my alt mill, so I'm an alt mill guy, and I absolutely love the machine. By the way, for that one person who's asking, it's really robust machine. I was talking to long mill; they do rigidity studies on all the equipment.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, not just theirs, but others, and they gave me some surprising information with some of the competitor machines.
I've been debating on upgrading my home CNC. Yeah. Mine's belt driven. Like it's 6 years old.
Right. So I just wanted to go back, Oscar. I can you can email me at Garrett at IDC Woodcraft, and I can help you better there. So, all right, Richard. You're asking if we sell 3/4 inch V bit with 1/4 inch shank for larger text engraving. Julianne, throw the link in there for him for the big stiffy 90. That's the name of our bit. That family of bits. It's a 3/4 inch 90 V bit. All right. So Anita is asking when you say a hobby has turned into a business.
I mean, does she mean full-time business or?
Yeah, this question was asked at 8:30. So
9:30. No, it's 9:30.
Yeah. So we were actually at 9 almost. Wow, geez, we're like kind of at the end here. So that was quite a ways out. So hobby to a business. This is I see this all the time. People get a machine, you play around, and then before you know it, you got people asking. So we got Eric here first time. We'll do a little quick dance for Eric. Julianne, you got to dance. I popped you out. All right. You see that look on Julianne's face? She's in the middle of something. She didn't even notice I popped her out. First time here, saw the alt mill video and are looking to purchase for acoustic guitar building hobby as a luthier. You're also a Mac user and have felt the V-Carve is the best affordable software, but it doesn't run on a Mac. Question is, what software do you recommend for my hobby? Make guitar, neck, put, plus much more would evolve into a business if it makes sense.
So I know V-Carve is capable. So the thing about guitar building is the precision that's needed. So V-Carve, like Fusion 360 is great for building parts. If you can master that, that's a great software for building complex parts. V-Carve is very capable. If you follow Tim Sway on YouTube, he builds guitars, basses on his CNC, and I'm almost 100% sure he uses Vectrix. I know he does.
Yeah.
So it is capable. Again, there's two different ways. There's two different styles of designing. I can't remember what fusion is called. It's parametric designs.
Yeah, there's parametric and I forget the other one for the 3D. So yeah, for guitars, yeah, Mac, you're gonna have to get. Obviously, you probably figured out you're gonna have to get parallels. But yeah, so if you're doing next, yes, V-carve, Carveco's good for that, right?
You can. I mean, they're both capable.
Yeah,
The first thing that pops in my head is just the amount of precision. So in Vectrix and V-carve, if you want to make a hole a half an inch off, like you need to, it's a different way to design. You can't just type in, I want this a half inch up here and want a quarter inch hole. And in Fusion, it's very precise. It's made for making parts and precision pieces of equipment. That's my first thought. I don't particularly enjoy Fusion, even though it's an incredibly powerful program. I tried to use it and then I stopped using it and then I forgot it all. They're both capable. It depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go.
right. Yep. Okay, we're going to knock out a couple more questions and then we're going to start to bug out because we've been on here for about 2 hours. So this is a good question from Richard. How do you get paid?
Most of my payments come through e-transfer and then cash upon pickup.
Yep.
I don't take credit cards. I mean, I have online QuickBooks Online where I can take credit cards and send invoices. I rarely get asked to do that. It's most of it's gifts for people, and they'll send me just an online. I've got auto deposit, just goes straight in. It's e-transfer and then cash.
Okay.
I don't take checks or anything. It's just
all right. Daniel says he loves the Louis Neeser quote on your website. Where are you located in Canada? Fella Canuck here from Winnipeg.
Yeah, so I'm in New Brunswick. So, for all you people in the U.S., I'm just above Maine. So think of Maine with half the population. That's pretty much New Brunswick.
Okay. Remember, Bill has his own line of CNC router bits up in Canada. So you can support him, Julian. Throw the link in the comments, and then of course that'll be down in the description of the video. So here's one. Todd, this came in quite a while ago. His business cost formula is inventory cost, hours, overhead, percent, and shipping cost. What are we overlooking?
I mean, it really depends on your business and type of business, right? Because your overhead, like what are you taking into account? Are you taking into account your power, your internet, your phone, your heating, shipping costs, your hours, your labor. Yeah, there's always miscellaneous. I mean, labor, unless that's in the overhead.
Miss anything? They got material, so inventory. That's what they're talking. Hours,
yeah,
and shipping. I don't think you're overlooking anything unless you're using, like Bill said, the materials or.
So the way I do it at the shop is I operate off of I price off of margin rather than markup. So every year at the end of the year, I'll sit down with my accountant and we'll figure in what our operating margin is, meaning how much do we need to charge on a particular product to break even. So pay for all our salaries, our heat, our lights, our maintenance. And then I can use that and then base a profit margin off of that margin. But I'm not an accountant. So I do rely on other people to get me half the way there.
All right. So if you're to sum up this whole business thing for those who are working this, right? What would you say is they should be paying attention to getting into this? Most important thing.
I mean, it all boils down to your passion and your willingness to succeed, because the thing about starting a business and becoming an entrepreneur is it's not always easy and it takes time. So some people will get discouraged easily when they hit the first roadblock of software, or they'll hit the first roadblock of, learning materials. And you need to stick with it, because it doesn't get easier. Basically, those problems get easier to solve, and you just get bigger problems. And I'll have a quick story. So I talk with a gentleman on a regular basis, kind of like a baby mentor. I wouldn't call myself a mentor, but we talk an awful lot. And 6 months ago, he got into the CNC about a year ago. 6 months ago, him and I connected. We started talking, and he was having issues with his bits. He was breaking bits. He was ruining projects. And, we started talking on the phone and Facebook, and I was walking him through these problems. And, he had goals. He was retired military. He's like, this is kind of what, is keeping me grounded. This is what I want to do. And I was like, you got to keep at it. And he said, well, when does it get easier? And I said, it doesn't get easier. It's just like the more that you grow, the bigger your problems get. Yeah. And I said, you basically right now you have $10, $20 problems. Like, you're breaking a $10 bit, right? He was buying his bits off of Amazon. It's like you're breaking $10 bits. So you have a $10 problem, right? You're ruining a project. You have a $20 problem. So fast forward to a month ago, he had just done his first craft show, and we were talking, and he was completely overwhelmed. He had $1,000 worth of orders. He said, I don't know how I'm going to do them all. And then I started laughing, and he said, what are you laughing at? And I said, so now you have $1,000 problems. I said, 6 months ago, you had $10 problems, and you wanted to have these $1,000 problems. So now you've grown, you've gotten better. So you still have those problems. You just know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
So it's all mindset. It's all just, it's the willingness to just move past these problems and these roadblocks as they arise.
Yeah.
It's the business mindset.
Yeah. And on that note, this is why I say there's a different way of thinking, because business is a lot harder than being an employee.
Yeah.
A lot harder, but it's much more rewarding.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we are going to check out. I'm going to bring Julianne back on, and we could keep on going. I know there are a lot of other questions out there. Bill, we'll just do this again. Folks, next week we got Kate coming back, and the week after that we got Kyle, and then we got Matt from 731 Woodworks. So we got more special guests coming on board. So make sure you show up next week. Same CNC channel, same CNC time. Bill, thank you for taking some time to share your knowledge. And folks, we'll bring him back on and do more business talking. So with that, look at that. See, Sean says he'd love $1,000 problem. Yeah, Garrett, you have been my YouTube guide on my CNC journey. Thank you. You're welcome. And we will do more of this again. Thank you, Julianne. Guys, give Julianne some love for being in the background, taking care of stuff. Liberty did have to check out, so we will see y'all later.
See you guys.